such sights to show you.
Hello, and welcome to is this the 5th episode now? I think it's the 5th episode, isn't it? The Daymares podcast. I'm Adam, and I'm joined by...
Maggie Smith?
Maggie...
No, wait. Aksel Spencer.
You changed voices.
Aksel Spencer is here.
Maggie Smith or Aksel Spencer.
One of the two.
Whichever one you prefer. So Daymares is a horror film podcast where two horror enthusiasts chat about great horror films and go from there. Yeah. So in this episode we're talking about George... Is it George A. Romero or George Romero?
George A. Romero.
George A. Romero's The Living Dead trilogy. So that's Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Living Dead, and Day of the Living Dead.
I mean, it's a bit confusing.
It's
Night of the Living Dead, then it's Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead. So it's like just the Dead after the first one.
Or you've got Zombie Living Dead. You've got Zombie 2. Then you've got the remakes.
It's a very confusing timeline with the movies, for sure.
But we're going to be discussing the three primary ones.
Yeah, I think there's a few other ones we're going to kind of have to talk about because they're such a big part of it, but the three first ones are the primary subject, yeah.
Cool. So, Aksel, why don't you introduce it?
Well, if you haven't seen, for some weird reason, you haven't seen the George A. Romero Death Trilogy, which is pretty much the Bible of zombie films. It's about this zombie outbreak and just people surviving in it. There's the first part coming out in the 60s, 68. Basically, just a few survivors finding a house to kind of take shelter in, and then there's kind of these... They don't get along well, and to try to fight off the zombies outside. So they get a bit claustrophobic. It's good fun. As next one, we go to a mall. This is probably most famous one. Well, probably most likely the most famous one in the Dead Trilogy.
I'd say that. Yeah.
So in Dawn of the Dead, there's a few military personnel and a few TV news kind of workers take shelter in a mall, kind of live out their dream of having everything at their disposal while fending off the Zeds. And then we come to Day of the Dead. Oh yeah, Dawn of the Dead came out in 78, so there's like... Actually, hang on.
About 10 years, is it?
Yeah, I think it's actually more than 10 years gap between the first two, so... I think Night of the Living Dead came before 68. But Day of the Dead came in 85, and that takes these kind of scientists and military personnel trying to work together to kind of find a cure against the zombies in the like underground bunker. So, you know, they have that going. So nobody really getting along. It's easily the most kind of conflicted part in the trilogy. And it's actually my favourite part of the trilogy. So those are the three movies. There's not really that much regarding the plot, but there's quite a lot going on, for sure. And we're going to go one by one. We're going to start off with The Night of the Living Dead. Which, did you say you watched it recently? Again, like rewatched it recently.
So, I thought I had watched this. And whilst watching it recently, so I think I watched it yesterday, and I thought, you know what, I don't remember too much of it, so I'll take some notes whilst I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Maybe about 50 minutes into it, I'd gone, no, I've not watched this before.
All right.
So, like, I've obviously seen clips.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that whole bit about the film where that the absolute dickhead that is Barbara's brother, Johnny, he's going, they're going to get you, Barbara. Like, obviously, I think that's probably one of the more quotable lines in the film. So
absolutely.
I'd seen clips of it, but I'd never actually sat down and watched it. As I was just watching it, thinking, I've never actually watched this before.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those movies that is unavoidable for one very simple reason, and it's the fact that George A. Romero kind of lost the rights to the movie, so it's kind of what you call it. It's free for everyone to use. So you see in loads of movies, like when people are watching a horror movie in a film, just like 90% chance it's Night of the Living Dead.
So I was reading about that afterwards, after I watched it. So it was nothing like specific that caused them that. It was just a cock up on their end. Like someone forgot to copyright the film.
Yeah.
So it's just like such a massive balls up in their production department where someone's just gone, oh, there's one thing I need to do. What is it? I can't quite put my finger on that one thing I need to do. And then years later, it's gone, shit. We're losing so much money on this.
You just wake up one morning like, oh, fuck. No, like in the middle of the night, like, oh, shit. But it's definitely the zombie movie of all time. It's like George A. Romero created the modern zombie, pretty much, with Night of the Living Dead. There had been this kind of Haitian zombies. Voodoo zombies were quite common to an extent. There were several movies made, even since, I don't know, 20s, 30s.
Yeah.
But this film pretty much came up with the rules of a zombie that's been, done again and again in all the zombie media ever since.
Yeah, I know prior to Night, there were zombie films, but yes, they were called zombies, but they were never explicitly explained what a zombie is.
Yeah, and the thing,
it was never a case of, oh, this is a dead person that's been reanimated and they're going around trying to kill people. Yeah. It was just, this is a zombie.
Yeah, the thing is, like I'm just gonna say George or Romero because his name is
it seems it's a lot easier.
Or A. I'm just gonna call him A. So Romero didn't really go out to make a zombie film to begin with. It's just these were supposed to be kind of. He called them ghouls.
Yeah, they're never directly called zombies in the film, are they?
Yeah, I don't think they're called zombies in any of the films.
In the second one, they call them zombies once.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They do, yeah.
I know that because I watched the second one today.
Yeah, it's been a while since I watched them. But they are... Yeah, I should really rewatch them. They're so good. But the whole thing with the first film was he just wanted to make a film about people reacting to imminent crisis. And the zombies were kind of just like the window dressing, if you want to call it that. And the actual thing was the human drama, what happens when they all have to isolate in the same building. Yeah,
I mean, it's obviously like... I know there's a big difference between the first and the second, where in the first one, the underlining message is kind of... It's not buried, but it's under a lot of stuff. Whereas in the second one, there is no underlying message. It's right in your face.
Yeah.
But yeah, with this one, like, it's one of those weird films where you watch it today and you can still kind of see how relevant it is.
And I think
just in terms, like, in the 60s context, where obviously racism is a huge thing, and you've still got like I can't remember if it was Reagan back then, but obviously he was a dickhead.
Yeah, he was in the 80s, I think. Reagan.
Oh, excuse me, I can't remember who the because I know America was going through like...
I mean, they've had shit presidents like every decade. Like,
yeah.
I think, I don't know, Nixon.
Oh, it might have been Nixon, actually.
I'm not sure. Of course, neither of us American, so we don't really know that much about that history, even though they tried to teach that in schools, but yeah, I can't remember.
But yeah, it's one of those where you can see. I've just googled it. It was Lyndon Johnson. Oh. Don't know who that is.
No, I did never.
Where?
Never heard.
So it's I mean, you don't have to dig too far for the message, really, do you? Just to see what the film is about. It's like you said, it's people with two opposite opinions clashing together, really, isn't it? And you can still apply that today.
Absolutely. Especially more so over the enduring pandemic, you can just see the division of people. Like, people always like to go, yeah, if there was a crisis, we'd all pull together, same rope, work together to get through this. And the last year and a half has proven, no, we fucking won't. Absolutely not.
I'm gonna push back on that one. Like, there are moments throughout the last year where I go, actually, we've done all right here. But then, yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, for the most part, people have just been shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, I watched it for, like, obviously the first time yesterday, and should we just go straight into spoilers now? Should we just fuck all the spoiler stuff?
I mean,
yeah,
with these, I reckon we can, especially with the first two, because if you haven't seen them by now, I recommend go watch them. Watch all three. Yeah. Like, the first two are absolute classics. The third one is kind of like hidden gem. It's my favorite of the three, and we'll probably talk about that later. But
yeah,
we'll probably put timestamps in the description or something for each movie, so you can skip to those if you are interested in specific parts of the trilogy.
Yeah, make life a little bit easier.
Yeah. So go on. Spoilers. Spoiler ahead.
Yeah. So I won't go like properly head in first to spoilers. I mean, because my first reaction to it, like the first half an hour, or maybe even the third, like the because it's like 90 minutes long, isn't it? I'd say like an hour into the film, I was thinking to myself, this is it. This is what people look back at now and still praise. Because it's very janky. Like, it genuinely feels like a student budget film where they hadn't wrapped up how they were going to execute the film, to me. Because there are moments in there where, like even when the car blows up, when like the two teenagers and Ben go and try and get to the gas pump and the car explodes. It's very tame. Like, it's like she drives off, but she does it at a very safe speed. You've got zombies, your car's on fire, and she's just going, all right, I'll just pop that into first gear, just drive off.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that wheel's on fire. Okay, second gear.
Yeah, certainly elements, like, you can say it was made in the 60s on a, like, very small budget. The budget was like $114,000, which, if I had that to make a film, I'd be super happy. But after paying for the equipment and actors, I'd be like, oh shit, that actually not that much.
Yeah, and they saved a little bit of money, didn't they, by having the people on production set being in the film. Like, I know Johnny, I can't remember the actor's name, but he was a producer.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think the person who played Barbara was a producer as well, wasn't she?
I think. Don't think Barbara was. No, hang on. Okay. I don't think Barbara was, but the dickhead man, was he Harry? I think his name was Harry. Harry's are always dicks. Yeah. He was, I think he might have been co-writer, or, like, definitely part of the production crew, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that comes across in the film, that these people aren't really actors. I mean, for the most part, obviously, there are people acting in the film, and it does the job. But it does, like I said, it just, like, that first hour, especially, just to me, screams of somebody who didn't quite know exactly what they want. And it kind of felt like, because Romero was the cinematographer, wasn't it, on this one?
Yeah, I think so.
So, I think for me, if he had had a cinematographer, the film could have been a lot better. Because there are moments in there where I'm thinking, right, okay, this shot's a bit weird. This cut here's a bit weird. Like, there's a cut between the man and the woman. I can't remember their names, like Harry and his wife.
Helen.
And Helen, when they're in the cellar, arguing between one another. And there's literally a point where, like, mid-conversation, it's just like, cut. back into the conversation, and it's like there's no real kind of like hiding the mess almost.
Yeah.
In the film.
Yeah, there's certainly, you can see the limitations, and it's very much a film of its time. Like, when it came out, it terrified people, like, traumatized them. Like, I've heard this scene where the zombies come to eat the flesh of the 2 teenagers who died in a car. Like, apparently, like, that was the most horrifying thing people had ever seen. Which seems...
Well, this is in a decade where people fainted at Psycho.
Yeah, I mean, they fainted at Beatles, for fuck's sake. So, I mean, it's like so tame in today's standards. But, like, I can see that, like, seeing that for the first time in a movie, like, someone eating your corpse, it sounds pretty wicked.
Yeah, because I can't name a film before it where that happened.
No, I can't either. Like, the thing is, what we must acknowledge, Psycho came in 1960.
Yeah.
Before that, horror films were man in a suit. You had your Frankensteins, your werewolf, your Jekyll and Hyde. It like janky, proper janky, and there was like backdrops of like not matte paintings, but like just painted backgrounds pretty much, and theater sets. That was horror until 1960, and then Alfred Hitchcock kind of bring in the human elements of like psychology, but monster films until Night of the Living Dead were cheesy, janky, like B movie stuff. So,
yeah, or they were white middle class men being dickheads. I mean, it's like I mean that's how I described Alfred Hitchcock's films.
Yeah, but like
to anybody.
Yeah, but like monster movies specifically were very specific type, kind of like theatrical in the worst ways.
Very, very melodramatic in a way. It's like very over the top, very not silly, but pushing that boundary. Yeah, and obviously some films,
like unintentionally really silly, especially when you look at them now. And that's like it was gothic horror. Pretty much all the horror around that time, with your castles, with your monsters, and all that stuff. So George really kind of changed the game with Night of the Living Dead. Yeah,
trying to put because obviously with any film, when we're going back nearly 60 years.
My God! Don't say that. 90s was just 5 years ago.
I was born in mid-90s. That means nothing to me. So, obviously, if you're watching a film that's predates your date of birth by several decades, you kind of have to give it a little bit of leeway.
Yeah.
Like, you can watch Citizen Kane today and go, why do people like this film? But when you actually sort of like take yourself out of the modern day and put yourself into the shoes of somebody watching that, you can understand why. And it's the same with this one. Like, I could fully understand why somebody's in 1968 America, or because I know they had like huge problems getting the film out in America. Wherever they were watching it, I can fully understand someone going, "This is brilliant."
Yeah.
But I think by today's standards, if you were to say to somebody, "Watch this film, this is great," I think that person's going to push back pretty hard.
Yeah, I think like Night of the Living Dead holds up in certain ways. Like, you can see, it's really cheaply produced, but there's some type of kind of like consistency in it, that in the way that George makes horror, I think it's just brilliant. Like, there's some really good moments there, but it's janky.
Oh yeah, I mean, like when you see that dead body at the top of the house.
Oh yeah.
There's two moments where you see that person's face. The first time he does like this really like what's it called, like that fast zoom in into the face. It has like really big clangy music going off in the background. And the second time you see it, it's more subdued. There's no zoom in, there's no music. It's just Ben walking up the stairs, and he looks at the face for the second time, and he kind of just goes, "That's fucking disgusting." Well, he doesn't say that specifically, but that's the impression you get. And for me, that had a bigger impact.
All right.
Rather than just like, here's this really disgusting thing. It going, here it is. It's pretty weird, isn't it? Just for me, felt like it felt a little bit creepy and obviously a little bit more upsetting. Not upsetting.
Is that how you
weirder.
often feel when you find a dead corpse in your upstairs? Like, that's a bit gross.
All the time. I don't know where they come from. Like, I clean them up every day, and I find another one.
Oh man!
Like the next morning, I don't understand it.
What a nuisance.
I mean, the blood in my bed needs explaining as well.
One thing I want to hear your opinion on. What did you feel about the scene, the stabbing scene? When the girl...
Right, I was going to come on to this.
Yeah.
So the last 25 minutes, like, are really good.
Oh yeah.
Like that stabbing scene where the child turns into a zombie, and like is it like a I forgot what they're called, like a trowel, what are they called?
Ghouls.
Like a small.
The object.
The murder. Yeah,
I thought. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a ghoul. Yeah.
Like the it's like a small shovel, like a trowel, I think it's called.
Let's call it that.
And you've got that weird synthy music, which I found out today was just like stock music back in the 60s.
All the music in this movie are stock music.
It's just stock music.
All of it. You don't get a real soundtrack in George A. Romero zombie movie until Day of the Dead.
Yeah, and it's just one of those moments, that scene with that sort of like weird distorted effects with the stabbing and her screams. It's one of those moments where like it really unsettled you.
It's one of the most brilliant horror moments ever.
Yeah. It's, to me, that's somebody thinking, right, okay, we don't have the money. We don't have any kind of like practical, or obviously we can't do any visual effects or anything proper like that. So how can we make this creepy?
Yeah.
Right, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. And it fucking works. It works perfectly, that moment.
Like, I think one of the most powerful things about that is it's a child killing their mother.
Oh, yeah.
And the mother's been, the whole movie, like, worried and trying to care for this child who is sick throughout the whole movie. Like, she's, as soon as we find her and these people, she's, like, on a bed. Like, it's clear she's been bitten, but they don't know what's going to happen to her. So it's that, like, emotional investment, like, what's happening, that is probably why it's so strong, because people thinking, like, if my daughter stabbed me, I'd be horrified. And I think that's pretty much the strength of Romero's work, is that human emotional conflict, which we see in many different ways in these three films.
Oh yeah, and I mean, especially more so with Night. It's very depressing, and it's brutally nihilistic as well.
Yeah, I mean,
like, there's all disregard for human life in this film. We probably might as well go to the very end, with the most kind of like depressing endings to a horror film ever. Yeah,
where the protagonist, I add African American actor, which at the time of when this came out was unheard of. He was starring the film. He was the lead. And, you know, it was very big kind of racially political kind of ideology that this kind of like inspired, which came by a total kind of accident. Like that, that wasn't the idea when Romero casted Dwayne Jones. It was just basically he was the best actor.
Yeah, and I was listening to an interview with him yesterday. He was saying, like, for him, the racial element of the film was very obvious. Yeah. Like, I know Romero still says to this day, like, he doesn't see the racial element in the film. He just made a film about what he thinks he makes it about. Yeah. But in the interview, like, Dwayne was saying, for him it was very obvious, and it was more obvious when he was leaving the set because on one day he was leaving, a group of people in a car followed him and essentially tried to kill him. Like they were threatening him with like a tire iron whilst he was driving back home. So it's one of those things. You're watching it and you can definitely see it. Like I don't know how how Romero doesn't go, oh yeah, I get what you mean now.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's pretty much this kind of like, I wouldn't say accidental casting, but you know what I mean. Kind of gave the movie very strong racial kind of agenda.
Yeah,
if you want to call it, in the lack of better word. That wouldn't been there. It would have been a very different film without Dwayne Jones as Ben. Because everything, the way Harry treats Ben in the movie, suddenly becomes about his race. And it's like when you look at it with that in mind, it's very different kind of behavior. It would be exactly the same treatment if Ben's character's white. He could treat him the same way, but there wouldn't be that kind of implication or emphasis. So it really, of course, meant a lot to Dwayne Jones and the African American community because they knew that kind of suffering, which George Romero, being a white man, which, you know, he of course didn't realize, he didn't read into it. But I'm glad Dwayne Jones kind of accepted that and, you know, ran with that flag. And he did a brilliant job. He is the best actor in this movie, hands down.
Hands down, yeah, easily. Like, even just in terms of that, I mean, Barbara's character, like, it's not very well acted, and as a character,
it's not even very well written. It's a horrible character.
Yeah, just in terms of how. Like you said, just how it's been written. Like, she's very much. What's the word for it? Damsel in distress.
Yeah.
It's just like, here's a woman, she needs help.
Yeah, it's like.
Oh, let's put shoes on for her, and she's got a broken heel. And it's just like. Ugh.
It's like, if you've ever heard the phrase like, you could replace this actress with a broom and it wouldn't change a thing. This is, with all its good things about Night of the Living Dead, this is one of its biggest issues to me.
Yeah.
But, like, luckily, George fixes that in the next two movies in even more brilliant ways in the third one. But at least...
Yeah, and... Go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say that at least the Helen character, the wife of Harry, who gets stabbed by their daughter, has more of, like, agenda. Like, he actually talks back to Harry at points, so she has that kind of, like, strength.
It was okay. There was a point in the film where I legitimately almost turned it off, just out of like, I can't watch this anymore. It's the bit where Ben's talking about what he was doing before he got to the house, and he's like, was it like a gas, whatever they call it in America, like a petrol station.
Yeah.
And he just saw all these zombies coming out of nowhere, and then he ran off, and then Barbara just retells the story of what she went through. And like, there's two ways you can look at it like that. It's like, okay, well, as an audience, as a viewer, I already knew that, so you're telling me something I didn't need to know. And secondly, just in terms of the film, it adds nothing to it. She's purely a character. And just to push the plot along.
And if I remember correctly, when she recaps what happened to her, I think she tells different things that actually happened. From what I recall, I remember the lines, but I remember she's saying like something that is not exactly true, but just like kind of. I was always weirded out by that scene.
Well, I didn't spot that specifically, but I know she's there talking about how her brother asked for a bit of candy. It's just like one of those moments you go, right, okay, right, where's this film going to go now?
Like Barbara is the biggest issue in the film for me. The effects
easily
are pretty decent, I'd say. Like,
oh yeah,
there's not much of like zombie rotten skin or anything. Of course, all the bodies are fresh at that point, but they're pretty good, what they had. And, of course, the lighting and the black and white film helps to kind of hide that limitations in makeup.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, the few scenes where the zombies are being like your typical zombie, like as we call them today, where they're eating flesh and all that, those moments are good. Like, you can tell that's somebody who had an idea in his head and really wanted to push it.
Yeah. And of course, with this film, like, one of the biggest things it also... Like, what George intended was pretty much, like, anti-Vietnam messaging, which comes very clear with the crowd of weaponized white men, pretty much, going through the country and shooting every zombie. And this is, like, I think we were about to talk about this earlier, but then we started talking about race politics. So, basically, these white men shoot their main character in the end because they think he's a zombie. Like, after a long night, he's finally survived, and here they are, shooting him in the head. And then we get these very documentary-like still photos of them, like, just taking his body with hooks and throwing it in a pile of the zombies and burning them up. And it's so depressing.
Brutal.
Yeah.
It's like I said, those last 20 minutes in the film, for me, really do make it stand out from every other film that came out in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, it's such a slow burner, and it takes you by surprise in the end.
Yeah, and that moment, like, because if I remember right, like, I do have like I did watch that point thinking, oh, something bad happens to him at the end, doesn't it? And then when he gets shot in the head and he flings himself back into the room he's in, that is a moment where you go, oh, okay, it's this kind of film, is it? Okay. it's you are sort of left wondering. And again, like, talking about like the underlying themes of the film, I fully understand why it's like that. Like, with everything that was going on, like in regards to America being on the verge of like a cultural and societal collapse, I fully understand why someone would go, oh, okay, well, I'm going to make this end depressing. I mean, and that's somebody who's living in a country that is currently going through a cultural and societal collapse.
Yeah. Well, better not peek out your windows.
That's the advice to take away from this.
Yeah.
If your country's in the shit, don't look out the window.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very kind of concerning how current Night of the Living Dead is nowadays. Like, 50 years, 60 years later. Hang on, 50 years plus. Do you have anything else about Night of the Living Dead? Do you want to move on to Dawn of the Dead? Dawn of the Dead. What do you think of that?
So, this one, I prefer it to Night of the Living Dead. I think it's got a little bit more to it. Yeah. And it doesn't leave you to your thoughts as much as the first one does.
Yeah.
Because it pretty much starts straight away, doesn't it? It doesn't piss around. It doesn't really try and divert anyone's attention. It just goes, and we're right into it.
Yeah.
Like, people in the studio are booting off. No one really knows what's going on, and you've obviously got an inkling of what's going on, but it's straight into it.
Yeah. And I think it's especially the way it starts with the scene in the block of flats. It's brilliant in my opinion. I love that scene. There's very questionable blackface involved for some reason, but like the shooting inside, it's so good.
Well, this is what I was saying before, where the underlying messages in this one aren't underlying; they're in your face. I mean, it's the racial tensions are there when you've got somebody saying, "Let's shoot all these little pussy Puerto Ricans," and then a very racist word afterwards.
Yeah,
it doesn't really pussyfoot around in this film. It goes, here's what this film is about.
Yeah,
and it kind of punches you in the face a few times just to make sure you leave. You come away from that film knowing what its message is and knowing that they were trying to convey something important.
Yeah. And the thing with Dawn of the Dead, it's much more professional film. It's an actual professional film. The budget it skyrocketed to 1.5 million.
Yeah. Like you had I only found this out today. You had your man Dario Argento on the film. Like that was the first time I heard of that, him working with Romero.
Yeah.
And as you're watching the film, I can look at that and go, oh yeah, I see his influence in this film. It's like a lot of the gore feels very much like it's taken from a Argento film.
The thing with this, I don't know how much Argento had to do with pre-production or shooting, but he had his own cut of the film made. There's Dario Argento cut, which is significant in a few ways. One is that it was released under the name Zombie.
Yeah.
And it started this zombie franchise. So there's Zombie 2, which is not Day of the Dead. It's its own movie. And it always confused me because there's a movie called Zombie 2, which is technically first original part of the franchise. It was really confusing. I haven't seen it, but I have to see it. It's been on my list for the longest time. And the other big thing is it had music made by Dario Argento's long collaborated band Goblin, which always does magnificent scores, especially for Suspiria.
And they were miscredited almost in the film.
Yeah,
because it's like the Goblins with
something
Argento.
weird like that. But yeah, I haven't seen the Dario Argento cut. I've just seen the normal one. Like
there's quite a few versions floating around,
there's
isn't
a lot of versions. Yeah, I think I've seen the theatrical version. I think.
Yeah, I think that's the one I saw as well.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty much to my understanding, I don't think Argento had that much to do with anything else. Like the effects, the reason the effects are so good is because this is the first part in a trilogy where Tom Savini took part in. Who, if you don't know, not you, Adam, I mean the audience. If the audience doesn't know, Tom Savini is like absolute legend in the horror makeup effects. Like right up there as the best of the best. He's known for Friday the 13th movies. He worked on many of those. And just a plethora of horror movies. Including this one. And he looks brilliant.
Yeah. And I know there's a bit in the film where he plays one of the bikers, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
And he does a stunt where he almost kills himself.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like they didn't have enough budget for stuntmen, so all the actors, including the makeup effect maker, who was one of the actors, did their own stunts. So he jumped off like a second floor into a pond in the mall or something insane.
Yeah, I mean, this film for me it's instantly more likable.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. No, I mean, I was going to say I wouldn't say it's more. What's the film? A more definitive, if that's the right word to use. I don't know, but like just going into it, you can tell it's like somebody had a plan. They knew what they wanted to do, and to an extent, they pull it off. I mean, I know in this one he's tried to make it a little bit more funny.
Yeah,
and to an extent, it works. I mean, I know you've got the whole pie scene where they're fucking slamming pies in zombies' faces.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I do think shifting away from quite a depressing tone and having a little bit more hope in the film it somewhat makes it a little bit more likable, almost.
It does, for sure. And it's like they have professional actors this time, and the characters are much better. They like have their differences, and I think the main four actors work really good together and very likable.
Yeah, definitely.
And the actress of Francine, Galen Ross, the female lead in this movie, has much more agenda this time. It's not just like, wallflower or anything. She actually kind of pulls her weight more in this one.
Yeah, because I was watching some like behind the scenes stuff after I watched it, and she was saying that she said to George Romero that she didn't want to be another Barbara.
Yeah,
like she said, I'll do this film, but I'm going to be a character. I'm not going to be just somebody who lies around and occasionally pulls a face.
Yeah, and
it shows as well.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's really good as well that Romero kind of let her do that, because he kind of realised the mistake he made with Barbara in the first one, and this one kind of fixed the issues mistakes he's done before, which is really good.
And also as well, to me that shows like he's a director who's willing to listen to his actors, because sometimes a director doesn't really know what's best.
Yeah.
And he's able to realise that. And secondly, he's able to look at his mistakes and correct them as well, which I don't think there are many directors, even today, that are willing to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it's their film and their film only.
Yeah. Like, the thing is, director has tools who are actors, gaffers, cinematographers, editors. They are his tools, and he, uses them and their professionalism to achieve his vision. So sometimes they know better what to do. Like, the character, I don't think is built by the writer or the director. It's built by the actor.
Yeah.
And the great thing about George Romero, he's renowned for being one of the nicest guys in horror.
He seems it. Like, just like interviews, he does genuinely come across as somebody who's, not a dickhead.
Yeah, and it's everybody always saying what a lovely person he was. And I think it was in this one especially, he was from Philadelphia, and everybody in Philadelphia apparently loved him so much that, for one, they let him shoot in a mall when it was closed. Horrible hours, by the way, but at least they got to film there. It's a big, brings so much production value to this movie. And there was, loads of Philadelphians just as extras doing zombie work, just basically because they loved Romero.
Yeah, and like I say, he just seems like a very likable person. He doesn't seem like he's there to stamp his foot around and talk about his creative vision or anything like that. It's very much and it comes across in his films as well. Even in Night of the Living Dead, it genuinely feels like people have pulled together to make the film rather than just one person calling the shots. Absolutely.
And I think that's really a sign of a good director.
Oh, definitely.
You're making a film. I don't think anyone should be suffering to shoot just to make a good film. Looking at you, William Friedkin, and many of others. It's yeah.
No, go on.
Yeah, just gonna say it's a shame he passed away. It's been several years now, but he was certainly would have been one of those directors I would have loved to have met in real life.
Oh yeah. What would you have done if you'd met him and all those things where people have said he's actually a nice guy were not true? I've always wondered that.
Don't meet your heroes.
I'm going to go off on such a tangent here. So do you know when someone dies and on the news you get? I'm not sure if this is the case in Finland or anything like that, but on the news, if somebody dies, let's say local boy Jimmy dies, you'll have people going, "Oh, he was a good guy, Jimmy. Everyone loved him. He was the heart of the community. We're going to miss him." You never get anyone that goes around and goes, "Do you know what? Jimmy was a bit of a cunt. I'm glad he's dead. I'm not going to miss him, and I think the place is going to be better without him." You never hear that on news stories about someone dying.
Yeah, there was a thing about several years ago, over a decade ago, when Tony Halme died. Do you know Tony Halme?
I don't know.
He's one of the most international success stories in Finland. He was a boxer, an actor, wrestler. He wrestled in WWE in the 90s. He had a small role, extra in Die Hard 3. And I think some other movies, I can't remember what, but like he was a big figure in Finland, political figure at one point as well. So basically when he died, there was like a lot of people going like, oh, shame, like so sad he died, he was a good person. And one columnist kind of wrote this piece about just trashing him, and it was a big thing, like why would you trash him? Like, and I do kind of understand that point of view, kind of like, yeah, like he made a mistake, he was a good person, but in the extent, if you like, you haven't done actual harm to people, like just let's try to remember the good things about people, because why live in the kind of what's the word? Animosity?
Oh, living in sort of like hatred for the past. Yeah,
yeah.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, like let's respect the memory, especially for the family. Like the family's going to be devastated. It's not going to help the family if we go, yeah, what a dick. It's just kind of like, yeah, let them mourn, let them have kind of like good memories. You're not going to gain anything by saying, well, he was a bit of a dick. Like, if they didn't do any actual harm to people, like, just, let it be.
This is why no one should ever interview me when somebody dies.
What a dick!
But going back to Dawn of the Dead, what's your favourite bit in it?
Oh, I really like the intro, the shooting scene at the start. I think there's something very special about it, the kind of chaos, and they're not really knowing what's going on, and there's some people who are kind of enjoying it to a very sick point, kind of like just shooting people, shooting innocent people as well.
Yeah.
But it's also the grotesque, kind of finding that. It's kind of like the Spanish film, VHS was the Spanish one, or was it a wreck? Because there was,
I think it's both.
Because the Americans made the remake.
Oh, yeah, actually, it's Wreck in America, yeah.
Yeah, VHS. So that's kind of like, there's like these crazy things happening in our apartment building where we live, which is our life. It's suddenly very unsafe. There's something so fascinatingly terrifying in that. Same in Demoni 2 as well, which is interesting film for sure.
I don't think I've watched that.
Oh, you should. What's your favourite? Yeah?
Yeah, so it's pretty much the ending. So I can't remember the character's name. The hero in this one.
The main,
what's he called?
Peter, played by Ken Foree.
Yeah. So he has pretty much said, again, I can't remember the character's name in this one. The woman who gets in the helicopter at the end.
Francine.
Yes. So Francine gets in the helicopter, and he sort of like sat in the lower part of the mall, and all the zombies are coming in, ready to sort of like get him, and he's got the gun to his head.
Yeah.
And this is what I was saying about it being more a hopeful film, and how it sort of changes, or not changes, differentiates itself from its previous film. Where, like in the previous film, he probably would have shot himself.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, he has the gun to his head, thinks about it, and then just makes a dash for it.
Yeah.
Just to get out of the place alive.
Yeah.
And the single laugh out loud moment, well, I wouldn't say the single laugh out loud, but the one that really made me do a belly laugh is when he's close to the helicopter and he scissor kicks, or like jumping double kicks one of the zombies.
Yeah.
And it's really bad. Like, you can tell it's somebody who's just done a double kick on a whim. And he's just gone, right, that's brilliant, I'm going to keep on running. And then he gives one of the zombies stop him, takes his gun and goes, yeah, this gun's better, actually.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird moments in the film where I genuinely thought the zombies were going to start shooting.
Yeah. I mean, they do in Land of the Dead, I think, which is the fourth part they did, didn't he? 2000s, 2005.
I've not watched that one.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I haven't seen them either, but yeah, apparently those aren't part of the George A. Romero legacy.
No, I mean, I was going to say this a few moments ago. Have you seen the diagram of all the sequels and all the films?
I think like years ago. No, can't remember anything about it really.
It's fucking bonkers.
Yeah.
It just goes, right, these are the Romero films, these are the ones that you can watch, these are the ones that you shouldn't watch. It's just like, there's 50 films, all like connected to this trilogy, and it's bonkers.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's like we talked about the zombie films. Then there's the continuation to the Dead Trilogy by George A. Romero himself. Then there's the remakes. All three parts in this film of this trilogy have been remade.
I was going to, so have you, because it was Zack Snyder who did the Dawn of the Dead remake, didn't he?
Yeah.
I'm guessing you don't like it, do you?
No.
So I watched half an hour of it today, and I thought, it's not bad, this.
The thing is,
I thought,
it's like semi-enjoyable action film, but my biggest problems is the name Dawn of the Dead in it, because it completely misses the point of, the Romero was making with the film. And I think George A. Romero doesn't really like the remake either, or didn't like. He like Zack Snyder always does. He completely misses the point of the source material. And it's just like the characters are all shit. They're absolute shit, and I hate them all. And it's like, there's some good bits of action, some good bits of tension, but that's like what Snyder does. There's good bits.
Yeah.
Like, as a complete movie, I hate it.
To be fair, like I've only watched half an hour of it, so like I could come away thinking, what a bag of shit.
Have you come to the... I'm not sure if I should spoil it to you. It's just a hilarious scene.
Just spoil it. Like.
Have you come to the zombie baby scene?
Oh, I don't think so.
I'm guessing there's a zombie baby knocking around. It's horrible. It's one of the my least favorite scenes in any movie ever. It's so stupid. I hate it.
I need to watch it now. Like you said that. I might just watch a YouTube clip.
Go for it. My sister loved that movie when we were kids. She would watch it repeatedly on VHS, and I've seen it a few times back then. Like, I see why people enjoy it, but yeah, I don't like it.
You've made me want to watch it more now. Like, before I wasn't too bothered about it, but now I actually really want to watch it.
But yeah. Yeah?
No, go on.
Just gonna go back to the original Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
So pretty much the whole thing about it, the message that is very well hidden underneath all the chaos, is the whole criticism of consumerism that was started to overtake late 1970s, and that really took off in the 80s with Reaganism and all that shit, materialism. Like, the whole setting is a mall, and the zombies are kind of drawn back to it. And it's just that I love the dream of these characters. Like, everybody's had this dream of just being able to live in a mall for a week or two, just living off with everything there is, having it for free. But now it's zombie apocalypse, and it's just... it's hilarious chaos.
Yeah, I know it's probably one of those things. Like, I mean, the inspiration for that film. Well, I won't say the inspiration. The core idea of that film has been plastered everywhere now. I mean, like, it's in video games, it's in TV shows, it's in other films. Like, and it is one of those moments where you do have this really relatable moment with the characters where you go, yeah, I would do this. if it was a zombie apocalypse and I was in a mall, I would make sure that I am fully barricaded in, and I would just go mental. You've got everything at your disposal. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the funny thing with Dawn of the Dead is because, like, Night of the Living Dead is, for zombie media, the most influential piece of zombie fiction ever.
Yeah.
And the second most important piece of zombie fiction ever is Dawn of the Dead. Like, hands down. I think like Romero really hit a nail in the head with these two films, like for future reference.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we'll come on to the third one in a minute because I know you said at the start that's your favourite one. I've got a feeling that the more if I watched it in full, I'd probably feel the same. But with Dawn, I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like I don't think it should be 2.5 hours for a start. But
yeah,
I think that you could have easily have made that maximum 2 hours, maybe like an hour or 45, if he really had committed to it.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just one of those films where it's a lot more enjoyable. The message is there to take away if you want it, and it's just a lot more accessible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially for a more modern audience.
Yeah, I mean the zombie effects, like the way the zombies look, is pretty horrible. To be honest, it's
I think because what's his name? The
Tom Savini.
Yeah, because I know he was saying like they originally did that pancake makeup, is it? I said, well, some of them look blue, some of them look green, and it didn't really work.
Yeah, it's like they don't have any scars or like marks or anything, just blue powder all over their faces, and to like it's like because they're slow and stupid, they're like fumbling around, like they don't seem like much of a threat, especially in the pie scene. It's just so kind of like, are we supposed to be afraid of these?
Yeah, that's the one moment where I was watching the film and going, right, okay, this is taking a very sharp left turn.
Yeah.
I was genuinely wondering how the film was going to go out from there.
Yeah, but it's like I love the slow zombie more than the fast zombie, just because there's kind of, you don't need to fear them one on one, but it's like when there's a group or like small spaces, it kind of actually gets a bit scary. Like I think Resident Evil 2 Remake had the perfect kind of slow zombie. They were terrifying.
I've not played Resi 2. I've not played Resi 2.
Oh, it's so good. It's one of my favourite games of all time. The remake, especially, it's so good. But they were kind of like, yeah, the zombies in Dawn of the Dead aren't that scary, but of course, like, there's the lift scene with Steven.
Oh yeah,
that is, you know, it is quite. It's quite sad. It's kind of like watching it, like, oh man,
we almost got away.
Yeah, that too is horrible, and I don't know. Do you see this? It's always bothered me. Does Steven, to you, look like Hugh Laurie?
Now that you say it,
I've always been like, he looks exactly like Hugh Laurie.
Because there was a moment in the film where I was looking at somebody, and now you say it might have been him.
Yeah.
Where I've gone, you look familiar.
Yeah. And there's another thing in Day of the Dead, I'm going to mention it when we come to it. It's a similar kind of thing I have as well with one of the characters. But yeah, like I think the Steven character is very interesting in this one because it's kind of like, on the surface, quite a basic character, but then, like, thinking back to it, look, when I've seen it second time, it's kind of actually a lot of kind of like certain levels of toxic masculinity going on with his character that I don't think was explored in movies around that time. Like, pretty much, if you were white and a man, you were like, good, you're a hero. But Steven is pretty much like, he's very unsure of his position, especially when Francine kind of wants to learn to fly the helicopter because Steven is the pilot. And then he's constantly trying to like shoot at the zombies and being like heroic, but he keeps missing them. And the like military guys, like the SWAT team, they're gonna go like, fucking hell, dude, learn to shoot.
Well, they kind of take the piss out of him, don't they? When he turns into like the zombies are trying to get into the elevator. Yeah. The elevator door's open. He's now a zombie, and he's got a gun stuck to his hand.
Yeah.
It's just like really taking the piss out of him, really.
Yeah. But it's such a like. It's horrible kind of see when like they're waiting upstairs, like for him to get there, and they see he's a zombie. It's so like kind of like gut wrenching.
Yeah.
And the death of Roger as well, the other SWAT team member, is also like very kind of death you didn't want to see in a movie.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those that even going back to the first one, there's always that moment where you go, please don't die.
Yeah.
Please make it out of this.
Yeah, it's like these characters are so much more likable than ones in Night of the Living Dead. You actually stand behind these characters, and I think that's why this movie, part of the reason why it stands up is or holds up is because of the characters.
Definitely. So my big question, let's assume you were in this situation.
Yeah.
Zombie apocalypse, you're in a mall, you've got your hideout set up.
Mm-hmm.
What is the, like, so like when I say hideout, you've got a bed, you've got like things all set up where you can sleep and be as safe as you can in the event. What is the first thing you do? Like, assuming everything's barricaded, like you're somewhat confident you can't get in, but they probably will at some point.
Yeah.
You wake up on the first day where you're all set up. What is the first thing you do?
Oh, probably start gathering stuff up to save location, like food. Oh,
okay. Right.
Given it's America, guns, guns and ammo. It just kind of like pretty much build up a place to hold up securely. Or do you mean kind of like more entertainment wise?
I was kind of thinking both. So like you've already set up. You've got your defenses. You've got your little hideout. You've barricaded the place as well as you can.
Yeah.
What do you do afterwards? Let's say you've spent a week in this place so far. Oh, not even a week. Let's say 2 days. It's taken you 2 days to set up, and you've not had a zombie come in. What's the first thing you do?
I'd probably go to the movies. Like, I don't know how many.
What film are you watching?
Oh, Night of the Living Dead. It's free.
This is weird. This is actually going on.
I don't know. It depends what they have a reels on. But it's like, I don't know really what all I can do, because the malls we have in Finland are so much smaller than what you have, like what they have in America, and also probably what you have in England.
Yeah, that makes that makes more sense, because the one I'm thinking of, I mean, I'm going to say it like you've probably heard of it, and people listening to this have probably heard of it. They probably haven't. So it's called a place called the Trafford Centre. Like, it's somewhere in the region of where I live, and it's one of those places that has everything. Like, it's got a place where it sells beds, it's got a place where it sells cars, and like it's got fucking everything in there. So that it's like, if I was in there, like it's got a cinema, it's got food, it's got everything, and I'm like, I mean, I hate the Trafford Centre, but if I was locked in there, I wouldn't particularly mind it.
Yeah, just living the life.
Yeah, trapped in the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. Anything else on Dawn of the Dead? Do you want to move on to the last part?
Yeah, I think we should move on to the last part. I mean, obviously at the moment, it kind of feels like I've come across as a little bit negative on this. Well, especially in terms of the Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
And I don't want to come across as that, because I kind of feel like these are important films. And they are obviously good films. It's just, by today's standards, they don't hold up particularly well.
Yeah. They've aged, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think, like, out of these three films, Day of the Dead holds up the best. Just by pure production value alone.
So, like, full disclosure, I've only watched half of this film.
What?
So, like, I just haven't found the time to watch it in full.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, you said it's your favourite one. I feel like if I was to watch all of it, it would be my favourite.
Yeah.
Because the intro to this is so good.
Oh, it is.
Like
Love it.
it's so apocalyptic. Like and the budget again just seems even bigger.
Do you know why?
Do I know why?
Yeah. Do you want to guess what the budget was?
Oh, I'm going to say, it's in the 80s? It seemed like quite was like a blockbuster budget, so I'm going to say close to 10 million.
3 million.
Oh, right, fucking hell.
Yeah,
No,
that is very interesting because it was supposed to be 7 million originally.
Oh, really?
But there was like, Romero did a movie somewhere in between Dawn and Day that kind of flopped. And the production company was kind of like, okay, if you're going to make this movie R-rated, so cut down on blood and gore, we'll give you 7 million. And it was like, fuck that. I want this released unrated. I was like, okay, 3 million. And
fair enough.
the thing is,
I can see why he's done that.
the thing is, which I think you kind of like, we can see on your assumption, this does not look like a 3 million movie.
No.
It looks like it has a much higher budget. Like, I would have guessed around 8 million.
Yeah, I mean, like, those first 5 minutes, like, it doesn't look like a film set. It looks like they've gotten an entire street somewhere in
Florida, I think it was supposed to be in Florida. Could be that film there, but it looks very Florida to me.
Yeah. So it just feels like they've managed to shut a road down for a few days.
Or even, I think,
And
just one day.
Just get that out.
Like,
They did it in one day.
I would guess. Yeah. I mean, it's not long. There are a lot of kind of like just shots of like stuff happening, not very like specifically organized. I reckon they could like. I reckon they could do that in a day.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
like think of what they did in 28 Days Later. You've seen it, right?
yeah,
They like, I think they filmed those like in a few like very short chunks in early mornings on Sundays along the streets, and they look like absolute absolute havoc on the streets of London, in London of all places. Like they did brilliant job with like dressing up those shots in such a short time.
I know on that one, it was literally a case of you've got a block of a couple of hours, get it shot, and if it's not shot, you're fucked.
Yeah, I think
And
this is
I
pretty
think
much
it was
same
done over
situation.
like a week or two, from what I remember.
All right.
But I mean, again, that could be very well me talking out my arse there. But the intro to this one is incredible. like that the title card where you got the zombie walking towards the screen and he's missing half the jaw.
Yeah.
Is brilliant, and then you've got somebody with a microphone going, right, if there's any living people here, get over here quickly as you can.
Yeah.
And then you've got this like slow, awful here, like drone of dozens and dozens of zombies coming towards you.
Yeah.
If I heard that, I'd be like, I'm gonna stop going out. Like, I'm not gonna be calling out for people anymore. I'm gonna be as quiet as I can.
Yeah.
And then, from there to me, it seems the more interesting. Well, I wouldn't say the more interesting, but it seems the one that it opts itself to have a couple of questions rather than having underlining messages.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's very kind of anti-military, which could be said about all Romero movies, pretty much. And I think the biggest complaints people had about it is it's just fighting throughout the movie, just people fighting. But I love the human conflict, and I absolutely love to loathe the Captain Rhodes character played by Joseph Pilato.
Yeah, he seems like a dick.
He's he's the biggest dick in any film I've seen. I just love his performance. And again, this one, the characters are what makes me love it the most. Just brilliant.
Yeah, I know. I mean, even like the start of the film where you've got like that person in like it's like an isolation room, is it? She's having a dream.
Yeah.
That to me just immediately starts like, right, okay, this is a film where it obviously seems it's several more years into the future. Shit has gotten really bad. Like, do you know what? It really reminded me. Well, I say this didn't remind me of a certain thing, but it reminded me of The Last of Us Part 2.
All right, yeah, I can see that.
And The Last of Us by extension.
Yeah.
Where it's as a society has totally collapsed, and there are people just going about what is their new normal day-to-day life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like nature has overgrown and taken over. Kind of like there's no society of any sort.
Yeah, it's just one of those moments where you're watching it, and to me, I can't imagine Romero had this trilogy planned out in his head. It seemed to me like
no way.
It was one of those things that stumbled as it went along.
Yeah, pretty much, I think. So, also, because of the limitations of the budget, this was supposed to be much bigger originally. Apparently, this was supposed to be kind of the Raiders of the Lost Ark, but with zombies.
Oh, really? So it's maybe a little bit more fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is one of the more, like, again, you said Dawn of the Dead was more kind of light in a lot of ways. This goes back to depressive route, for sure.
Yeah.
And so that's why they pretty much had to film, like, underground. That's the location, which was apparently a nightmare to shoot in, but I think it's a brilliant setting. It makes everything so claustrophobic, which then again explains the high tension in the group throughout.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, again, I've only watched about half an hour of it.
Yeah. So what part have you reached?
Oh, God, like, how can I describe it? So it's all it's not just, it feels like tensions are starting to boil a little.
Yeah. Rhodes hasn't... Okay, it's been a while since I've seen it, so I'm trying to think where you are, but I'll try not to spoil anything for you, because I think I really want you to see this full, because I love it. It's my favourite.
Let me check, because, again, like, I feel like we say this every podcast. If you're still listening to this and you haven't watched them, they're all on YouTube. That's how I've been watching them. So that means I can quickly...
Yeah. You can just watch it as we speak.
Yeah.
Live commentary.
We'll do live commentary now. I am up to... Yeah, so it's all kicking off. So, like, Rhodes is sat at a table drinking beer, or it looks like beer at least, while people are, like, eating breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think oh, there's so much good stuff coming. So much good stuff. It's like this movie, again, effects made by Tom Savini, the absolute legend, has the best score, the absolute best score in, like, pretty much any zombie film I've seen.
Yeah, it's straight away seeing that zombie with its, like, jaw ripped off. I mean, I just like, right, okay, I definitely need to watch this now.
Yeah, that was like brilliant makeup on an extra, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But do you know what? It wasn't an extra.
Was it not an extra? Was
it
Romero by any chance?
It was a puppet.
Was it a puppet?
It's 100% a puppet.
No way.
Yeah, and those eyes moving as well. It looks so real. It's so good.
No. I wonder how they did that.
I mean, Tom Savini, he does everything. It's like I'm very fascinated by this all like 80s kind of like makeup effects artists. There's like Tom Savini, Rob Bottin, Stan Winston, which we all know from making Jurassic Park effects, and Rob Bottin did the effects on Joffrey's dead in Game of Thrones. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. So yeah, there's like massive names. Yeah, Greg. One thing, you know, the makeup artist Greg Nicotero.
I don't, but go on.
Okay, so he's like one of the biggest makeup artists nowadays. He's done to Walking Dead, the makeup effects in that one,
okay.
And the zombies in that show. Like, it has a lot of faults, the show, but the zombies look amazing.
Yeah.
They're by Greg Nicotero and his company. He is an actor in this film. He's one of the soldiers.
Oh, okay.
So that was like very weird to see, kind of like, because I never realized he did acting, because I knew him from his makeup effects before I saw this film.
Oh, right, okay. Because, like, I mean, feel free to spoil it, because it does seem a bit weird, like, to be half talking around a film more than anything. So, like, feel free to spoil it. I'm not too fussed on that one, because sometimes people spoiling stuff for me make me want to watch it more.
like we see about Dawn of the Dead Zack Snyder version. But yeah, it's what can I even talk about? It's just, it goes absolute, all goes to hell. At the point there's the doctor, Dr. Logan, or also known as Dr. Frankenstein, who trying to kind of domesticate the zombies instead of finding a cure. So these the soldiers don't like that at all, and turns out he's using the dead soldiers as kind of experiments and food for his favorite zombie, Bub, who is the most sympathetic zombie ever. So they get really pissed at him, and they basically just shoot him, and after that, everything goes to shit. And it's just, it's just, they very much start to take over, and it's off.
They do zombie things after that. That sounds like, so, because obviously you get an idea that they're trying to find a cure.
Yeah.
At the start of the film, but I don't remember if anyone was started talking about experimenting on zombies or anything like that. So that seems like quite an out there idea. Yeah, I don't think I've seen a film or read a book or anything like that where someone's been experimenting on something. I mean, the closest thing I can think of is in Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, they kind of domesticate them.
He's got him playing video games at the end.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like the idea that Dr. Logan has in this, kind of they can domesticate them. But of course,
he's training zombies to play video games.
Go esports.
Need to beat this high score. Put it in my initials.
Z-E-Ed. No, wait. So yeah, they are the doctor. I think they kind of want to find a cure, but not really being very successful at it. So basically, Dr. Logan is just full on kind of crazy mad scientist, and the other ones is kind of oh shit, please stop.
No, see, that sounds way more interesting than what the first half an hour give me, at least.
Yeah, it's when I first saw the film, I wasn't really on board with the whole idea that zombies, they can do human things. They kind of have that memories of their past as a human. It's the same idea he had in Dawn of the Dead, but now it's they're actually doing it. They can read and shoot with guns, even, which leads to the greatest death scene in all these movies. It's just one of those things you just have to see. It's brilliant.
Okay. I will post my reaction on Twitter when I see it.
Yes. So it's very fascinating, and I kind of grown into it. I much more like that idea now, because it's so different. It hasn't really been done since, the kind of idea that there's a human still inside these things. Yeah.
I know, again, video games. I mean, going back to The Last of Us, I know they very, very slightly touch upon it in the first one, where you've got that kid Henry going, "Do you think they're still thinking there?"
Yeah.
So, but other than that, I mean, I've not really seen a zombie film where they're concerned about the consciousness of a zombie.
Yeah, or if it is, it's usually one person kind of going, "That's my mother," and then the mother bites them. It's well,
yeah.
That's pretty much the extent of it usually. And yeah, I think this also has quite a lot of philosophical subject as well, but from the characters, the two pilots, who are McDermott and John, played by Jerry F. Conroy and Terry Alexander. And this is the thing I was talking about earlier. I think the McDermott, so that's the Irish guy who kind of constantly drinking alcohol. You know who I'm talking about, yeah. Does he look like Rowan Atkinson to you?
Rowan Atkinson?
Yeah.
Yes. See, again, that was another thing while I was watching this, going, he just looks like Mr. Bean.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, the guy that plays, what's his fucking name now? The dickhead soldier.
Captain Rhodes, Joseph Pilato.
He looks like the guy in Big Lebowski. Not the dude, the guy at the bowling alley who goes mad.
You mean... Oh. Now that you talk about him, I can't remember his name. John... Oh, fuck.
Let's see if you can get it before I Google it.
Like
John Goodman.
Goodman, yes. I was about to go Candy. I was like, no, not that. Wrong person. But yeah, John Goodman. No, I do not see that resemblance.
I mean, I'm saying that briefly. I'm just looking at a 5-second clip of him on YouTube just now. But yeah, I mean, this one it certainly seems the more interesting of the three. I mean, just looking at it now, it seems to be the worst rated. Well, I say worst rated. Like 83 is a bad rating. If I made a film and got an 83 on Rotten Tomatoes, I'd be fucking buzzing.
Yeah.
But out of all the three films, this one seems to have the least amount of love to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing is, Night of the Living Dead created a genre. Dawn of the Dead kind of certified it. How do you follow that up? I think this movie has the best production value easily. It's the best based. It has the best characters, the best action, and kind of like the best kind of emotional attachment to the movie. There's so much that I enjoy about it, but it didn't do as much new or groundbreaking as the first two.
Yeah, it certainly seems like that, where they don't necessarily stick to the mould, but they certainly don't try and push the boundaries.
Yeah, and it flopped at the box office as well, I think. And it's
also the people who financed it were right.
Oh, don't say that. It's like the actor of John, Terry Alexander, who is now the third African American lead in these movies, which is pretty impressive given the time. Yeah. He was like sure this was going to make his career, he's going to be a big name, and then it flopped, and it was kind of like, that was it. But that's like, I love the actors in this film. I think it's a brilliant cast, and the funny thing is that like most of them are stage actors, they're theatre actors, and it shows.
Yeah, now I didn't know that, but now you said it, it does kind of feel, yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah. Like Joe Pilato, I think, was for sure theatre actor, as well as Terry Alexander, so the actor of John. And I think the main lead, Laurie Cardille, who plays Sarah Darling, I think she was a theatre actor as well. So it's like very heightened emotions kind of in their performances. And I think it just suits so well in this because there's so much emotions on the surface, all that like anxiety, intensity that's brought up.
I need to watch it. I need to watch it in full.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I'm getting from this.
Yeah. It's just brilliant. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all we can talk about for now about Day of the Dead. It's really, I recommend watching it. It's so much good in it. I love it. It's probably my favourite zombie movie of all time.
I can't think of my favourite zombie movie. I don't think I've got one.
I mean, I'm a lover of zombies. I love all zombie media, so that's like specific interest of mine. But now that I want to bring out this kind of like kind of maybe becomes episodic kind of feature. I want to ask you, since now we have 3 movies, if you had to choose between Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, the original movies, to recut one of them, to remake one of them, like yourself, like actually shoot all new stuff, or want to live as they are, like don't touch it, which one would you do with which of these?
Ooh. So this is like a shag and marry kill.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd probably remake the first one.
Remake the Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Mm.
There's like, there's no. There were times where there was just no sense of urgency.
Yeah.
In that film, like even when the zombies are caught, like they're trying to get through those windows, like through those panels, and you've got the teenage boy, I can't remember his name now, where he's trying to like slap the hands away, and it looks very, very plain and very.
Also, can I just say, like we say, teenage boy, like the actor was like
I can't remember.
late 20s, early 30s for sure, like as the tradition was in the 60s and all the way to 90s, noughties.
But he was having to play a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
So I'd probably remake that.
Yeah.
Recut. I'd probably go for the Dawn of the Dead.
Mm.
Because I just think there are moments in that film that you could just do without. I mean, I kind of feel like you could take out the biker gang in that film, and it would certainly be a different film. But I feel like you could take them out and go from there.
Yeah,
maybe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've got no experience in editing films, so I could do that and just make it insatiably worse.
Yeah, I mean,
and
the thing is with the biker gang is like, until the point they appear, there's nothing that has impacted their presence before, and once they're gone, there's really nothing that they impact after they left. It's kind of like there's one chunk, they're important at that point, with all the action and stuff. Apart from Steven's death, there's like they do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a weird part of me that likes that idea where they fully well know that there's an apocalypse going on outside, that the world is ending, but inside this little mall, they're having their own free-for-all.
Yeah.
But, again, I mean, a chance that, obviously, if I was to re-edit anything, it would just be dog shit.
But let's say, like, if you actually had, like, skill in editing.
Then I would probably re-edit that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably thinking too deep into this. If we're re-editing something, do I have all of the footage, even the unused footage?
Yeah. That's basically
or just the footage that I have.
Yeah, all the footage that existed in any of the cuts. That's what you get to use.
Okay, then yeah, I'd probably go for Dawn.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, by default, I have to leave Day of the Dead because I've not actually watched it in full yet. But that seems to be the more interesting one so far.
Like I would go.
So I'd probably leave that as is.
I would pretty much go with the same ones. I was kind of contemplating if I would remake Day of the Dead just because I like it so much, and I think there's other like things you could do with it, and just leave Night of the Living Dead alone because it's such an important part of the culture of that time. But then again, like you said, there are a lot of faults. There are a lot of kind of things you can improve with that film. But there's always the kind of like, I don't think anyone could ever remake it better, just because they wouldn't be doing anything new.
When you say remake it, then are we talking about just like a fresh remake and it stands toe to toe with the original?
Yeah. So,
or are we talking about a remake in the sense of we have the same tools as they had back then, the same budget?
It's remake.
And then it replaces that film.
Remake in the sense that Dawn of the Dead was remade.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'd probably still stick with Night of the Living.
Yeah. I would probably still remake that as well. It's just Day of the Dead is just the best rounded, even if it didn't really do as much new or impactful to the culture and medium as the previous two.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong as well with finessing what you already know.
Yeah.
Like you can play guitar well, but can you play guitar well for 5 years?
Mm.
And because obviously, if you can play it on your first day playing guitar, compare it to your day 2000, you're probably going to be better at it than what you were before. So I don't see it as much as a fault or a downside of the film where it's not much different.
Mm. Yeah. It's like definitely you can see the improvement in Romero's craft through all the
easily.
3 films.
Easily. And I think it helps as well that he didn't go from Night of the Living to Dawn to Day of the Dead. Because he obviously did like rom-coms and like he did like a sci-fi horror film in between and a vampire film, didn't he, in between all of it. So I think that helps a lot as well, where he's gone back and forwards between this and other stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. I just wish his later movies were as good. But, you can always win. But we do have a great legacy of George A. Romero to remember, and we can eternally thank him for giving us zombies, giving us Walking Dead, Resident Evil, 28 Days Later, Last
Shaun
of
of
Us.
the Dead.
Just all that. We wouldn't have any of that if it, at least in the shape we have them now, if it weren't for George A. Romero.
Oh no! I mean, another thing that I had on my mind, but for some reason I didn't mention it before. That Night of the Living Dead drew some inspiration from the I Am Legend book.
Yeah, indeed.
Like, and have you ever read that?
No, I'm a bad reader.
It's such it's such a good book. I mean, like the film with Will Smith does no justice to the book, but it is a really good book, and you can see easily where he got the inspiration from.
Have you seen the Vincent Price film adaptation?
The Vincent Price?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't aware there was another one.
Yeah, there is. It's, of course, made in the, I don't know, 40s, 30s, somewhere around there. I haven't seen it, but yeah, it's, I reckon, quite a different film compared to the Will Smith I Am Legend. I don't think it's called I Am Legend either.
The Last Man on Earth. I'm just looking at it now.
Yes, that's it.
I might have to have a look at that later then.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't really like I Am Legend, the movie. Like, I know a lot of people do, but no.
It's decent. I mean, in the book,
it's okay.
In the book, the man's not a hero. He's just an ordinary person who is trying to survive.
Yeah.
Whereas in the film, he's the coolest man on the planet, and he knows what to do.
I mean, that's the only role Will Smith plays, isn't it? He's always the cool guy.
Oh, I mean, it's the Will Smith role.
Yeah. But he has to carry Smith to kind of like, he carries that, but yeah. I'd love to see him do something else as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's thank George A. Romero for today's episode. I'd say one of the cornerstones of modern horror.
Easily. Like I think if he didn't make those films, we would have very different films today.
Absolutely.
So thank you, George A. Romero, wherever you are.
Probably in hell, if conservatives have to believe that's all the films he made.
Because he was a secret dickhead and everyone lied about how good he was.
And next week, or next fortnight, rather, I think we're going to talk about the film The Witch, or Witch, The Witch.
The
Witch, by Robert Eggers.
Definitely.
It's going to be an interesting one. And yeah, so any last words from Adam?
Not particularly. I was just trying to think of something cheesy to say. But nothing's coming to my mind. I feel like we need sign-offs.
Yeah, we need like a watermark for... I mean, we do have a jingle to play us out, at least. We do. Yeah. So I guess...
But...
Yeah.
But follow us on Twitter if you've made it this far.
Do
it's
that.
Daymares P.
Yeah, at Daymares P.
And then if you've got any questions or anything like that, or any thoughts on what we've said, come and yell at us.
Yeah, tweet us. Find out addresses. Come to our home. Steal our food and
find out our bank account numbers and make us bankrupt.
Yeah. I know you're already bankrupt. Don't lie.
I'm in a library right now.
But yeah, thanks everyone. We'll see you again next fortnight. For now, have a good night and don't let Freddy bite you in the arse.
Cheers, guys.
Cheerio.